Alrighty, everyone, hello, and welcome back to yet another episode of my nonsense. And as you can see, I am filming this one directly after I filmed the last video, because I need to talk about this because I could not believe the nonsense that I have witnessed, and we're gonna talk about it together, as we always do. But before we get into all of that, though, again, B-Lock is still in jail. B-Lock being my pigeon. He's in there because he will not stop trying to peck my hand to pieces. But all that aside, welcome, come on in. My name is Sara Stresen. I am a Christian witch, a content creator, writer, educator, specifically a writer of this book right here, Discovering Christian Witchcraft, which is pretty much the one-stop shop explanation and defense of the concept of Christian and witch being together to begin with. And its sequel is coming out on December 30th, which is the next step, the natural progression of everything that gets talked about in book 1. So if you haven't seen those already, definitely check them out. But if you don't want to go buy a book because, you know, obviously, that's fine. I understand. Trust me, I understand. Just go ahead and like the button, subscribe, and ring the bell, because we talk about all kinds of good stuff, like you can find in the book and otherwise, every single Friday. And to get these videos 2 weeks early and ad-free, just head over to my Patreon, where you can support me and all the work that I do, and also get a lot of other content I post throughout the week there as well. But now, again, right? So last time I was talking about overconsumption and the Christmas spirit, and why the fuck people overconsume to begin with, why people are pushed to do X, Y, and Z to begin with, which is very fascinating stuff. There's another thing that in my research I came across that actually made my stomach twist. Very rarely do I get upset enough about things to have a physical reaction to them. This was one of those times, and it shocks me because I never expected to be the kind of Christian that cared so much about what other people did with this kind of stuff. I never thought I would be the person who would care about how people perform their Christianity, but the more I study the religion, the more seriously I take it, the more I get into the liturgy and the theology and the philosophy in it, the more I am deeply distressed to see Christians doing things that are so very obviously performative, virtue signaling, and yet at the same time wrong. I've talked at length about, you know, how people use the Bible as a weapon to be all kinds of different phobics and all kinds of different ists and ists, all that kind of stuff, right? They use it to justify being cruel to people, to oppressing people, and all that kind of stuff. And that is its own massive conversation that sparks the deepest anger in me. But this specifically, I gotta show you this. I gotta show you this because this was something that actually blew my mind. So when I was looking into overconsumption of Christmas decor and all that kind of stuff, I discovered an entire genre of videos where people were not putting up a Christmas tree, like a normal ass fucking triangle shaped pine tree ass. They were putting up my God, they were putting up a cross, an evergreen cross, decorated with roses and lights and whatever else, just like a Christmas tree, but with the sash draped on it like Easter, and with, in the case of this one video, with nails, like the nails that Jesus was hung up on that thing with, and also with a crown of thorns. And in that caption of the video, she says, you know, it was always about Jesus. You know, it doesn't matter what stories they tell you, you can't take the Christ out of Christmas, to justify having a gigantic fucking fake evergreen cross instead of a tree. And that drove me insane. The reason this pissed me off so extremely is because it shows that these people have no understanding of what the symbols of this religion mean, but at the same time, they're going to have that caption there, which is an obvious kind of Christian nationalist and hardcore conservative Christian talking point, right? These Christians who feel so persecuted because Starbucks has a red and green cup on it instead of something that actively says Jesus is Lord or something. These Christians who think there's a war on Christmas because people say Xmas instead of Christmas and all this other kind of bullshit. They're the ones that are then going to do stuff like this, and meanwhile, they're going to actually desecrate the meaning of the symbols to begin with. They're not only going to, do this kind of stuff, but they're going to ignore the Christian tradition that already exists. They're going to try to Re-Christ-ify basically stuff in a way that ironically makes them more pagan looking than before, and then they're going to do it all with a smug smile on their face like they are morally superior to other people, and that's fucking insane to me. With this specifically, it was double appalling to me because the crown of thorns and the 9-inch nails and the cross itself are the symbols of Jesus's torture and execution at the hands of an unjust empire, which has no business being associated with the day we celebrate his birth. Like, don't get me wrong, like, yeah, I wear the cross as a symbol of my faith. I have crucifixes and crosses, and as someone who grew up Catholic, I do have those that still have Jesus on them. But this is a symbol of faith. This is a sobering image. I don't have anywhere to put this right now because where I normally put it is now being taken up with the nativity set. And this feels wrong as hell to put next to the image of Mary and Joseph doting on their sweet baby boy. I made a insane rant about this on TikTok as well because I just could not keep it in. And someone said it perfectly. Even though they're not Christian, they feel like to do something like this with this cross instead of a Christmas tree feels like dressing up as the Grim Reaper to go to a maternity ward. What are you doing? Why are you constantly hyper-fixated on the brutal torture and death of this man when, that's not all his story was? Moreover, these symbols, the crown of thorns, the nails, and the dice as well that the Roman soldiers cast to gamble for his clothes, all the torture instruments, the inri, right, which means in Roman, here is the king of the Jews, all these kinds of things that make up the symbol. They have to do with an entirely different, analogous but entirely different season of the Christian yearly rhythm, and that is Lent. Lent leading into Good Friday, leading into Easter. And unlike Advent, which is anticipatory, where, right, we focus on the themes of hope, peace, joy, and love, or rather, hope, love, joy, peace. Got those little swish around. Where we focus on these themes leading up to anticipating the birth of the light and the darkness in our future hope, right, in this religion. The period of Lent is about penitence and sobriety and reflection and thinking about the ways in which our pitfalls create this broken, fucked up world. This is a time for, as I like to call it, 40 days of state-mandated sadness. Why on earth are you trying to cast that gloom and doom and horror onto its analogous yet opposite festival, which is all about birth and restarting and beginning and hope and light and love and joy? What on earth are you doing? I hate to see it. I hate to see it because, again, not only is it so virtue signaling, this person, again, it's not just this egregious mess of a Christmas decor. It's the caption, right, with this virtue signaling, with this, put the Christ back in Christmas, that shows that, not only does she not understand it, but she's doing this for clout. She's doing this to show how holy and religious and spiritual and devout she is, meanwhile fucking it all up. Because this whole concept of put Christ back in Christmas is stupid, because these are the same kinds of people who are then going to spit on Catholics and Orthodox folks for actually engaging in proper liturgical Christian tradition. The Advent wreath exists for a reason. We just had a whole little thing about this. The Advent wreath is this point where every week we do some antiphons, we do some prayers, we reflect on the meanings of these four things. We light each one almost as if we are adding to the light that brings Christ to us. We do all this together. We have specifically our nativity set, which reminds us of Jesus, which puts the Christ back in Christmas. We have the nativity set with the Holy Family right there, and that very important Epiphany story right there. Even the Christmas tree, the actual tree itself, knowing that this came out of Germany, and a lot of people did think that it was a Protestant invention, right? Like Martin Luther is said to have created it. Even then, that draws on this concept of evergreen being a symbol of eternal life, which may have been pre-Christian in nature, likely was, but was syncretized to the time period because Jesus represents the gateway to eternal life. And so that evergreen with the star on top is already very deeply Christian in iconography. You don't need to put Christ back in Christmas when, if you were paying attention at all, he's already fucking there. But these Christians, especially these Protestant derivative ones, They will laugh at Catholics and Orthodox. They'll say that they're so fucking, idolatrous and this and that. And then they'll go and they will paint their house in the death of their God, even on the times where they're supposed to be celebrating his birth. It doesn't make any sense. It is theologically bankrupt. It is spiritually hollow. It is nothing more than a bunch of bullshit. It's just bullshit masquerading as faith. It is the very definition of the whitewashed tombs that Jesus called the Pharisees, the ones who want to look so fucking righteous and go and crow and this and that and up and down in the streets, judge everyone else, while meanwhile their house isn't exactly clean. This fucking log in their eye is a lot bigger than the speck in everyone else's, but they don't want to see it that way because they want to see themselves as being a champion for Christ, as if all that entails is giving a lot of fucking lip service online with these stupid performative videos. And of course, just like we talked about last week, this is yet another way. This is yet another way to sell stuff, because you go into these comments, oh my god, where'd you get that? Oh, I have it linked on my Amazon storefront, bitch. Oh, the way in which I'm going to lose my mind. So that in itself is a problem, but one might ask themselves, well, what causes these people to do this? Like, what causes these people outside of, like, let's pretend that, like, Christian nationalism doesn't exist, and let's pretend that, like, all of the real deeper and more insidious reasons that people do this don't exist. What's another reason these people do this? Like, what do you mean put Christ back in Christmas when it's already there? Well, I understand it just fine. I get it. I know what they're trying to do. The problem is that they just suck at doing it, and that is that they feel that their traditions are being co-opted by a culture that increasingly doesn't actually give a fuck about Christianity. Case in point, right? Let's consider the fact that in the West, Europe, America, this is a very culturally Christian setting. It's a very culturally Christian place. This is a place where, you don't have to be Christian to have encountered Christmas, right? Just going to the mall, everything with, like, the gigantic Christmas ornaments, the Christmas trees, you got, like, things of Santa all over the place, you got Santa being used in advertisements, you've got all the red and green stuff coming out, brands and all this stuff are putting Christmas-themed stuff out. Whether or not you are Christian, you are inundated with Christmas-themed stuff. So naturally, right, we even have it built into our society. We have, like, holidays off, right? People get Christmas off. Whether or not they're actually Christian doesn't matter. You ask the same for any other religion, and it's like, no, sorry, you have to use your PTO for that, right? We are a society that very heavily skews Christian, if not actually, like, religiously, definitely culturally. And that means that a lot of people who are not Christian, but still want to, exist and have a nice time in December, because there are a bajillion holidays in December, they kind of have to go with the flow a little bit, or they just want to go with the flow because it looks fun, right? The Christmas tree and all the shiny and the pretty. At the end of the day, man, people are basically just magpies, and they like shiny things. And so I'm not going to get mad when I see Jewish folks putting up a Hanukkah bush, which is just a Christmas tree but in blue and white with a menorah stuck to it. I'm not going to get mad at that. Nor am I going to get mad when Muslim folks put up their winter tree that is literally just a Christmas tree, but, like, I don't know, maybe it's got some, like, more Islamic paraphernalia on it. I'm not going to get mad at Jingle Hallel. I'm not going to get mad at all these other goofy things that go on. I'm not going to get mad at Xmas either for the atheist folks who still culturally celebrate this, because I understand that this is a culture where the default baseline prioritized privileged position is Christianity, and these people have the option of either playing along or, like we talked about with the FOMO marketing and stuff, feeling left out of society at large. Moreover, it's a sign of assimilation. I see people all the time, specifically European fucking Nazis, bitching up and down about how, oh my goodness, there are so many people from Muslim countries immigrating here. But then when people from Muslim countries go to the Christmas markets, enjoy it, have a good time, and maybe try to incorporate a little bit of it into their own homes, suddenly this is also a problem. It's like, God, the fucking racist Nazi rhetoric, you'll never understand it. You'll never understand it because it is inherently nonsensical. But anyway, the point is, a lot of non-Christians participate in very Christmassy looking stuff because they're constantly surrounded by it, because it's part of our baseline culture, because it's fun, because it's interesting, because it's cheerful and merry, right? Whether it's, like, you've got, I don't know, Buddhist Bodhi Day, whether you've got like Jewish Hanukkah, whether you've got sometimes, depending on the cycles of things, Muslim Eid, that sometimes lines up with this, whether you've got Christian Christmas, whether you've got pagan Yule, everyone has something going on at this time because everyone is celebrating these similar themes, right? Of hope and of faith and of goodwill and all these other kinds of things going on. But of course, that makes Christians feel like they have to set themselves apart. Again, when they win the battle, when Christians win the battle and successfully force their religion on the entire culture, and so the entire culture participates because it's tradition, they decide that that's no longer good enough and they have to step back and they have to reinvent the wheel again, basically, which is why we end up with stupid fuck shit like this. The problem is, since a lot of, especially Western American Christianity, has no proper theological or traditional roots because they forsook the church that, like, has any of that, they end up doing it all wrong, and they end up also displaying just how little they know about their own religion. They end up displaying how shallow their theological understanding is, which explains perfectly how and why, as chronicled in many books, like ones we've talked about, Jesus and John Wayne, The Kingdom, the Power, and the Glory, how these Christians end up basically serving the God of their own self-interest rather than anything mentioned in the Bible. Right? Like, it just becomes that point where we realize that their faith is basically built on a caricature of Jesus and some really shitty worship music. It is the epitome of what Jesus called the blind leading the blind. When you have pastors who don't really know shit about their own religion, leading other people who know somehow less than shit about their own religion, and then they've all managed to convince themselves that actually God blesses you with grand financial wealth, and that, God also didn't like people of color for some reason, calling that a mark of Cain in a lot of these denominations, that God doesn't like women, that God is actually a white man, and all the other stupid shit that these people end up believing. It's getting to the point where, some people ask me, like, Sarah, if Christianity's gone so to shit, like, why do you still call yourself a Christian? I'm at the point where I'm trying to look at all this other stuff I see and say, but that's not Christianity. Why should I give up the title of my religion when the people who are fucking it up so bad are the ones not actually practicing it, like, at all whatsoever? I don't see why I should have to give this word up to people who are so fucking dog shit at celebrating it that they just end up twisting themselves in knots and accidentally spitting in the face of their own God. Like, routinely, like every day, like in multiple different ways. And I could probably make a video like this for every single instance of this, because this stupid fucking pine cross is not the only time I've seen this, right? Like, just as a quick example, when Halloween comes around, All Hallows Eve, All Saints Day, which are liturgical Christian holidays in the liturgical yearly rhythm, people suddenly start saying that that's satanic and it's demonic and this and that and up and down, so they're gonna have a harvest festival instead. As if a harvest festival isn't inherently more like pre-Christian in concept than All Hallows Eve and All Saints Day. Like, in their attempts to purify their religion, they fuck it all up. And that's really the underpinning, isn't it? They want to purify their religion. They want to purify it of all these undesirables, of all these atheists and all these other people that aren't their religion, because it's a facet of Christian nationalism. It's a facet of, like, just hyper Christo-fascist conservatism. And that's so obvious when anyone who's actually educated in Christianity sees fuck shit like this tree with the crown of thorns and the nails on Christmas. Oh my God. It's performative. It's literally a cardboard cutout understanding of the religion. It's a farce. It's nonsense. And the fact that people continue to do this and call it holy is reprehensible. So I just had to talk about that because that was insane. I still can't believe that I witnessed that with my own two eyeballs, and that people are doing this and acting like it's cute and good. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. But all that aside, don't let that spoil the rest of your December/January. I will see y'all next time for some slightly calmer chats. So yeah, see ya.